Hello everyone, how you doing today? Welcome in. This is LDJ11 and I'm going to bring you my final mock draft. I really, like I said, am no expert, but I enjoy doing mock drafts and I do read a lot and I do consider myself a very amateur scout that's still learning how to do it. So I like to do it for fun. Let's start off with the Carolina Panthers. This is pretty clear cut. It's going to be Bryce Young, quarterback, Alabama. I'd be shocked if it goes any other way. Number two, you have the Houston Texans. You keep hearing chatter that they're not going to go quarterback. I don't buy it. They need a quarterback. CJ Stroud at number two. Three, the Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. I go Will Anderson if I'm them. However, I'm going to switch it up because there seems to be a lot of talk, and this happened last year, where a guy that really shouldn't went a lot higher. I'm going to put Tyree Wilson at number three. Four, the Colts are on the clock. With the Colts, you hear the Will Levis chatter. I'm going to give him Will Levis. Not the direction I would go. I would go Anthony Richardson outside of Bryce Young in this draft. I just think he has the highest upside, and I think he's too good of a player to pass on. But it's not just up to me. We have to do what I think they're going to do and what I hear based on the podcasts and everything I read. So at number five, the Seattle Seahawks are on the clock. And really, if Anthony Richardson's on the board here, I wouldn't be shocked if they went for him. But I'm going to go Will Anderson. He just seems like such a good talent to leave on the board. So at number six, the Detroit Lions are on the clock, and I'm going to go ahead and give them Devin Witherspoon. I'm kind of torn between him and the other corner out of Oregon that I'm drawing a blank on, Christian Gonzalez, just because Christian Gonzalez is longer and has the ability to do more than Devin Witherspoon, but Witherspoon really is a tough physical player, so I'm just going to say that fits Coach Dan Campbell's philosophy. So Devin Witherspoon goes off the board here at number six. At number seven, the Raiders are on the clock. With the way this falls, I'm going to go ahead if I'm the Raiders and I'm going to take a tackle. So for me, I would recommend Peter Skronsky, but the problem is you're not sure if he's a tackle, so I'm going to give them Paris Johnson Jr. At number eight, the Atlanta Falcons are on the board. I'm going to give him Jalen Carter. I just think it could happen. And you know what? He's just too good of a player. You have to worry about the off field stuff, but it's hard to pass on him. At number nine, I'm going to go ahead and put Peter Skronsky to the Bears. I think they could just use the lineman, so I'm going to go with Skronsky. At 10 with the Eagles, I'd love to give them Bijan Robinson, but that's just not going to happen. I just don't see them going in that direction. So I'm going to go ahead and stick to my pick that I think they're going to do is Lucas Van Ness. It's a little early for him, I think, but he just feels like somebody they would bring in and mold and develop. At number 11, the Titans are on the board. I don't love this fit just because they drafted Malik Willis and it soured last year. So I'm actually going to have the Titans pass on Anthony Richardson in this situation. And I think, I just don't know with Malik Willis if they're going to really want to go after another project athletic quarterback. So I'm going to go ahead and give them Jackson Smith and Jigba at receiver. At 12, the Texans are on the clock. They already took Bryce Young, so what would they do here? Well, let's take a look at the board. In my opinion, there's a lot of pretty good players on here, but I'm going to go ahead and give the Houston Texans maybe a little bit of a shocker, but I'm going to give him Christian Gonzalez. He's just such a good player. He shouldn't be on the board at number 12. So at 13, following the Aaron Rodgers trade, the Packers are now on the clock, and I'm going to keep my pick the same. I'm giving them Dalton Kincaid. He's just such a good player. So at 14, I'm a New England Patriots fan. I also will state I am not a Mac Jones fan. I don't think he was the right pick when we did it. I think we should have gotten more aggressive and traded up for Justin Fields. But I'm going to actually give my New England Patriots Anthony Richardson. I am a Gators fan. I do live in Florida now. So kind of that, but it's also I know his ceiling, and I just would love to see Belichick try and develop somebody who has a high ceiling because Mac doesn't have that. So I'm going to give him Richardson since he's on the board. At 15, the Jets falling trade back. Really, they didn't lose that much. They're going to go ahead and just get a tackle, and I'm going to give them Broderick Jones. At 16, the Commanders are on the board here. Now, the Commanders really could use a lot. I really think that, there's no receivers. They could look at quarterback, but I'm not taking Hendon Hooker at this pick. This one I'm struggling with just a little bit. But you know what? I think I'm going to go corner, and I'm going to give him Joey Porter Jr. The Steelers would love to see him stick around to their pick, but he's a long corner, and Ron Rivera is okay with long corners that aren't that athletic. I mean, you look at Josh Norman and what he did. I think Joey Porter would fit in and do really well for the Commanders. At 17, the Steelers are on the clock, and I'm going to actually go ahead and give them Deonte Banks, and they're still going to get a corner. that should work out for them. At 18, the Detroit Lions are on the clock. If the board fell like this, I don't know if they'd be disappointed or happy. Now, I don't necessarily agree with all their rankings on here, but as I'm looking through and I'm just kind of browsing players, if I'm the Lions, I go ahead and get tough. I'm actually torn between two people here. I'm going to give him Bijan. I just don't think Bijan's around this late, so I'm going to give him Bijan Robinson, and they're going to get a weapon. This may not be right, but I need to fit him into the first round because I'm hoping to get as many as I can right. So the Lions are a good team. We'll see. I'm going to give him Bijan Robinson. At 19, I'm a Buccaneers season ticket holder, so I'm also a huge Buccaneers fan. And with this pick, I think they're going to go ahead and look for a guy that doesn't really fit the same profile as their other edge rushers, but I think Kalijah Cansey's kind of explosive. I'm going to give him Kalijah Cansey. They could use help on the D-line, so that's going to be somebody new for Todd Bowles to play around with. At 20, the Seahawks are on the clock. And at number 5, as you may remember, I gave them Will Anderson Jr. So what are they going to do here? Well, I'm going to go ahead and give them a guard, O'Cyrus Torrence out of Florida. Big fan of his. He's a fantastic player. He's thick. He's sturdy. That fits what the Seahawks are looking for. And honestly, he was somebody I debated giving the Bucks at 19. At 21, the Chargers are on the clock. Now for the Chargers, I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to do with them. I'm going to go to receiver and give them Zay Flowers. He adds a different dimension to their team than what they have at receiver. They have Keenan Allen. They have Mike Williams. He gives them somebody a little bit different. At 22, the Ravens are on the board. The Ravens are typically a team that just drafts the best person available. So I'm going to give them... I'm not as sold on Nolan Smith, but I'm going to give him Nolan Smith. He's somebody hard to leave on the board this long, so I'm going to give it to him. I just feel like he goes in round 1. Now at 23, the Vikings are on the clock, and a lot of people think the Vikings are going to go ahead and go after Hendon Hooker. Well, I just can't get behind a 26-year-old quarterback going in the first round. I just can't do it. So for me, I'm looking at the Vikings and what they need and what's available. They have Justin Jefferson. So, you look at receiver, maybe they could add to that room. And it was a serious consideration, but that's not where I'm going to go with this team. I'm actually going to go to the corner room here and look at it. I don't think that's where I'm going to go. I'm not in love with anybody at this point. So what else makes sense for them? Well, D-line makes some sense. I think they could use somebody on D-line. And it's just not great for their needs as you keep looking how the board's fallen. So I think they'd be a perfect candidate to trade down. But I'm going to take a chance and mock Brian Brzee in the first round. I think somebody like him who was a top recruit at one point in time and has kind of a tough personal story might get another chance. I look at a guy like Robert Nkemdiche. He went at the end of round 1. He didn't work out, but he had the pedigree, and I think sometimes that's what happens. So I'm going to put Brian Brzee in the first round. At 24, I'm going to put Brian Branch to the Jaguars. It makes a lot of sense for them. I think, honestly, I thought about giving him to the Vikings, and I probably should have with Harrison Smith getting older, but I'm going to go ahead and give him to the Jaguars. Bucky Brooks, who's somebody who works for the Jaguars calling games and stuff, said he'd be a great fit. I'm going to trust a professional and put him in that slot since he's on the board. At pick number 25, the New York Giants are now on the clock. And I think they could go ahead and use a weapon. So I'm going to give them Quentin Johnson. Everybody else on their team basically at receiver is small. So I'm going to give him a big man, give him some other element, and hopefully he can help them grow as an offense and help Danny Dimes be worth $40 million. At 26, the Cowboys are on the clock. And honestly, I don't know what I'm going to do with them because I can't believe Darnell Wright's still on the clock, but or on the board. I just don't think they'd take him. So as I'm looking at this and I'm struggling a little bit with it, I'm going to give the Cowboys Michael Mayer. I think he goes in round 1. I'm not as sold on him. He's a really good player. I just don't feel like he's really good at one thing, which is what usually helps you become an elite player. So I'm a little worried about that. He's got a low floor, I think, but I just don't think he has a high floor, but he doesn't have much of a ceiling, in my opinion. At 27, the Bills are on the clock, and I'm going to go ahead and give them Darnell Wright. Maybe that's not the right decision, but I think anytime you can add to your O-line, it's not a bad thing, and he's just value. and the Bills really could use some value. So I'm going to give them Darnell Wright. At pick 28, the Bengals are on the board, or on the clock here. And for me, I think the Bengals really could use a tight end and a D lineman, like this says. DB, yes, but they seem to really like what they have. Maybe a safety. And if Brian Branch was on the board, I'd give him Brian Branch. So for me, I'm looking at tight ends, and I personally would put Darnell Washington to them, but there's been a lot of late buzz that he's not going to be a round one pick. So you think, okay, maybe offensive tackle, DeJuan Jones, way too high. Anton Harrison, I'm not as familiar with him. A lot of people say he's raw, and I don't think that's what the Bengals are looking for. I think they're looking to really build their team and get to that next level just based off of that. Oh, that's tough. I'm going to give them Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm going to take a chance and put 2 running backs in round 1. Gibbs could come in and help this offense become more dynamic while also helping them prepare to replace Joe Mixon. I don't know. I'm going to go Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm going to take a chance with this one. The Saints are on the clock here. Now, for the New Orleans Saints, they really could use O-line help. They could use D-line. I think it was Adebawore last time in the mock. I'm not going to do that. People seem to be a little bit cooler on him than what they were. Maybe a guy like Mozzie Smith would make some sense, but nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and give the I'm going to give the Saints TCU guard Steve Avila. I think O-line help would be great for them. So at number 30, the Eagles are on the clock. Now the Eagles traditionally go O-line, D-line in round 1. Well, at pick number 10, the Eagles went Lucas Van Ness. So, okay, let's flip it over and look at the O-line. That's what makes the most sense to me. I'm going to take a chance and put Anton Harrison in round 1 to the Eagles. And at pick 31, the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they would love to get Jahmyr Gibbs, but he's not there. And although I'm not very high on Myles Murphy, I'm going to add him to the Chiefs because he's probably going to be a round 1 player. And so they're going to take him. So that's it for my mock draft. I want to show you Jordan Addison didn't go, which is a little weird. But I could see a world where he falls out. Emmanuel Forbes, same idea. It's just a weight. The size isn't there. Will McDonald could really sneak in my opinion. DeJuan Jones, bad pro day, seems out of shape. People seem to be a little low on him. I like Felix Anudike-Uzomah. John Michael Schmitz is good. Mozzie Smith, I think, is pretty good. He's probably a day 2, though, in my opinion. Darnell Washington is somebody I wanted to put in round 1, but I couldn't find a spot for it. And the Bills, I really was thinking Jack Campbell, just because of the Luke Kuechly, like what I did in the first one, but I just couldn't leave Darnell Wright out, and I think they could use some help in the future at right tackle. So I'm going to put Darnell Wright there and let him go to a good team and go and develop from there. So this is LDJ11. Thank you for watching my mock draft. Everybody enjoy the draft later today. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Have a great day. I'm out.
And sometimes you just gotta believe there's something that'll give you relief. There's something that'll have what you need, what you need. We're broken, it's tragic, we're not all elastic, but maybe there's magic, believe you could have it.